Greetings. Y'all hear me okay in the back? All right. Welcome to RTX. Welcome to, I don't remember what we ended up calling this this panel, but Behind the Mics, voiceover for video games. My name is Alex Keller. I am the audio guy in DC Universe Online, or one of them. Audio guy in games generally means that you are doing sound design, music composition, and voice casting and directing. And for DC, that's primarily what I do. I've cast and I think I've cast 220 characters from the comics, a zillion skeletons, pirates, a lot of gorillas. We're big on gorillas. We are free to play on PC, PS3, PS4, and I've brought a selection of the actors I've worked with, as well as our creative director, S.J. Miller, to talk about doing voice acting for video games. Yeah, give it up for him. Like I said, we have a giant cast. These guys are the cream of the crop, and this is a really, really smart, funny group. So this should be a metric ton of fun. Without much further ado, let the actors introduce themselves, talk about what they've done for DC, as well as some of the other games and other media they've worked on.
Hi, I'm Beth Broderick. Most of you know me from Sabrina the Teenage Witch as Aunt Zelda, and from Lost and Under the Dome and lots of other things. But I'm really, really enjoying doing this DC comic piece. I don't know.
Well, we brought Beth in to do Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mom, for our DLC 11, and she will be back. I can announce that she'll be back in DLC 13, which is the sequel of that one.
It's so much fun. Really enjoyed it, and happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Mishler, and I first stepped into the DC offices thinking like, oh, I hope I get Warrior #1, or that's like a yoga reference. What is that?
I want to do warrior pose.
Slipping in the yoga stuff here already. But I ended up becoming the voice of Lois Lane, Supergirl, Power Girl, Cheetah, Raven is fun, and
Starfire.
Starfire is fun, and Ursa. Along with some other fun little things. So I kind of like had my mind blown and my heart expanded on this job, and it's been such a fun journey, and I'm so grateful and honored to be here. Thank you.
I'm S.J. Miller, as Alex said. I'm the creative director on DC Universe Online. I'm also pretty much the story writer, and I write and edit pretty much all the dialogue that goes into the game. So a lot for this person sitting right here.
I'm D.B. Cooper, and I am the raging Red Lantern Bleeze in DC Universe Online, and the very badass Lady Shiva for this game. You also might have heard me in BioShock 2. I'm about a dozen characters in the endlessly in beta Firefall, and I'm also in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. If you could get through that game, God bless it.
Hey everybody, I'm Shannon McCormick. So for DC Universe Online, I end up playing, I am Shazam, the Riddler, Arquillo, who is in the Sinestro Corps. I'm John Constantine in which DLC was that one? I can't remember.
I'm not sure exactly where we slipped you in, but he was the first properly British John Constantine to be
Except
voiced.
I'm not even British.
Yeah.
Like one out
on
of
TV.
8,000 instances of an American taking a role intended for a Brit as opposed to the other way around. And then for video games, I also do a bunch of voices in some King's Isle properties, Wizards 101 and Pirates 101. Those are games aimed at kids. For web stuff, I do this show called Red vs. Blue. I'm Agent Washington. I'm Professor Ozpin in Ruby. And earlier this week, I recorded a role in the upcoming series Bee and Puppy Cat on Channel Frederator. So yeah, that's my deal.
I'm Troy McClure. No. My name is Gray Haddock, and hello. Outside of DCU Online, I work at a little company called Rooster Teeth. I'm the voice of Torchwick on Ruby and Locus on RVB, as well as another character that you might have happened to see the episode yesterday. If you haven't, it's a little spoilery, but there's a new character that's introduced in episode 9. I voiced that guy too. And done a bunch of anime voice work, and you can do things like set me on fire in Deus Ex and shoot at me in Metroid Prime and stuff like that. But as far as DCU Online is concerned, I have the honor of playing the Green Lantern Hal Jordan.
We might call this the Green Lantern panel. Yeah. Hello, my name is Robert Fisher. I'm a voice actor, also a casting director here around town. In DC Universe Online, I play Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern. I am also the only Orange Lantern, Larfleeze, and the top as well. I also assembled the initial pool of actors as a casting coordinator for DC Universe Online. I also did that for King's Isle Entertainment's Wizard 101 and Pirates 101, and I'm about probably 120 characters in those two. So I can't really get to the list of those. Because there's a
Then I was
buttload.
like chipmunk number 3. Then I was like
4 and 5 and 6.
surly wizard.
And I also actually got my start doing casting and voiceover with a company some of you may have known called ADV Films. That was a large anime distributor that is no longer around, based out of Houston. So I did about 32 different anime series at that time. So thank you.
All right. So I'm going to swing a couple of questions at these guys, and at about the half-hour point, I think we're going to turn it over to questions from you guys. I guess let's start by asking, what other types of work do you do other than games? Other types of voice acting, whatever. And how did you get into doing voice acting for games? You, Beth?
All right. I've done a lot of voice work in my life, but most of it has not been animation or games. I used to be like the voice of Maybelline, smart, beautiful Maybelline. You guys are probably too young to remember that. So I've always done voice work. This is rather new for me, the comic world, but I think it's really exciting, and the online games are fascinating to me. All are I've been walking around going, who are these people? They're so interesting, so colorful and amazing and creative, and it's really a joy to participate. But most of you know me from my film and television work as an actor, which is primarily what I do, although I do really enjoy doing theater locally here in Austin as well.
My turn? I am an Austinite, born and bred, and I grew up in the theater culture. Both my parents were actors, so I definitely come from a theater background, and I'm really glad that I get to answer this question, because I want to thank Robert down there, because I would not be in voice acting if it weren't for Robert Fisher, who I met with some other friends and colleagues via theater. I do a lot of VO for commercial, and DC was actually my first step into games. Actually, I think I might have done a little King's Isle prior to that, but so I kind of jumped into VO for gaming in a big way. I think I jumped in. I think my first day I was there for hours and hours and hours.
Oh, yeah, their launch sessions were brutal.
Yeah,
And you really showed a lot of fortitude there.
I remember it was like, oh yeah, I love voiceover acting because it's so easy. And I remember the next day my whole abdominal wall was just like so sore. I was like, I'm gonna get ripped just doing this job.
The voice actor's ab workout.
Yeah. Oh my God, let's make it. We can be like, I remember we thought of that last year at RTX. But speaking of abs, just kidding. I also am a yoga teacher. I have an online web series. Well, it started off as an online web series teaching yoga, and now has become this cool little thing that I travel with. So it's cool. Every one of my jobs, I use my voice, whether it's voiceover acting, working in theater, or film. I also teach yoga and have to use my voice. I actually lost my voice last year for 3 months, and it was very interesting because everything I do is with my voice. So that was an eye-opener. Take care of your vocal cords and your abs. Thanks.
Well, obviously the only role I play is SJ, but at DC Universe Online I wear a lot of hats. I'm a writer and a creative director, and I also got in through game design, actually. So once you get into this industry, God only knows where you'll end up.
One of the other jobs I have is to be the person on the other end of the phone when you call the power company. I live in New England, and so you hear something like, "Thank you for calling Western Massachusetts Electric. If you'd like to speak to someone, please hang on." I work for CBS Radio as a commercial voice announcer for commercials for Boston area radio stations. And golly, one of the things that I love the best is to narrate college science textbook tutorials. And honestly, I'm not kidding. I work for a publisher that produces Flash tutorials, and I get a free education. So I can tell you everything you want to know about the olfactory epithelium. See me after the show.
What if I don't want to know anything about the olfactory epithelium?
Don't ask, Shannon.
Okay. I want to kind of echo what Adrian said. I'm kind of a theater guy, I'm an improv guy, and I think my voice acting career, such as it is only really kind of possible in a place like Austin. ADV Films, where Robert worked for years and years, was the satellite office in Austin was run by a bunch of theater weirdos, and so they just they cast all of their friends, and we're all talented enough to do the work, but it was like guys in experimental theater companies asking their experimental theater company actor friends to be in these animes aimed at kids. So Robert and his partner at ADV, Lowell Bartholomew, cast me in a couple things at ADV. So my first professional voice acting gig was doing anime dubbing in the early 2000s. That skill set helped me out when it came time to audition for working with Red vs. Blue and the Rooster Teeth guys. That kind of swirled around, and Robert, having worked with me, recommended me to Alex. So then I'm doing games. And I know Gray, so then I recommend Gray after the panel last year to go work for DC Universe. So we're all kind of, it's a small enough town that we're all kind of know each other and are connected, and I wouldn't say it's easy to get work that way, but that's the best way to get work is to show up, do good work, get a good reputation, and then just have people recommend you for other projects. And then, eventually, the only thing you have to do is talk your way onto being Puppy Cat by saying, "Hey, I'm kind of a guy who does stuff, and I had this opportunity to do a bunch of stuff in Austin, put me in your show," and then they're like, "Okay, sure."
When does that one air, do you know?
I don't know. We just recorded. It's the 5th episode, so it's probably going to be in the fall sometime. I would guess September, October.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I sing. What the hell? I'm not a singer, but I sing in this episode.
Oh, man, how did I get started? I was the epitome of theater geek back in high school, so that's where I got all the, give me the gift of a top sock type stuff hammered into me. Then did some, and then studied acting in college for a while and went off and did other stuff for several years, but eventually wound up with an agent for a while who was very heavily focused in promoting their stable of actors as voice actors, as in addition to on-camera stuff. And did some radio commercials, and then started getting auditions for video games and for anime voiceover jobs at ADV with the guys. And it's like, you're gonna pay me to do this stuff? Awesome. So did a ton of roles at ADV. Had the pleasure of doing Sonosuke and Rurouni Kenshin, so that was kind of cool. And then after that, the video game stuff came along, and then eventually wound up at Rooster Teeth. And just when you think you're kind of done doing voice acting for a while, they drag you back in. And once some of the guys at Rooster Teeth figured out that they had all the stuff on the IMDb for the anime voice acting, it's like, oh, we think we can use you for something. And then that's
but we're still going to make you audition.
Yeah, and you still have to make the damn show too. But you do have to audition for this stuff inside Rooster Teeth. You're still up against all the actors in the community and so forth. But And then, yeah, got introduced to Alex at the end of the panel last year, which was fantastic. And then you get that magic call. It's like, hey, man, we'd like to have you come in and read a little something. And the rest is history as far as the Green Lantern stuff is concerned.
On to me. If you can't tell, Austin, despite its size, has an incredibly large theater community. Which is actually how I got my start. I went to school for theater performance and sound design. And so when I moved here, I started hustling for roles at various theater companies and joined a group called the Rude Mechanicals. And we write and create all of our own original work and tour it around the country. So through that, I got to meet all of these guys and numerous amount of actors. And also through that, I had met my business partner, a gentleman named Lowell Bartholomew, who, as Shannon had mentioned, worked at a company called ADV Films. And so he had called me up one day and asked me to come in and do an audition for that. And I said, I've never, ever done any kind of on-microphone voice work. And they're like, oh, you're going to be great. I love you. You're just going to be awesome. And just be an actor. And I went in and I did I did 3 roles in this one thing involving like this big giant rabbit that was stalking this little girl's dreams. And then a couple of months later, I got my DVD in the mail, and I put like, oh, I'm all over this thing. It's awesome. I took it out, and like they had re-recorded all of my voices, except for the rabbit that just went. I love it. Which was great. It was a super boost of confidence there. Actually, I wound up joining ADV as an audio engineer, working under my friend Lowell. He was directing and writing, and then through that, I got the hang of getting in the booth and really kind of figuring out what it was like to do that kind of stuff, and then moved into a producer role and produced several shows before they imploded. And then not too long after that, a friend of mine had done an audition for a game at Midway Games. Anybody remember Midway?
Oh, man. Say a prayer.
And had recommended me. They were looking for an audio person to come in and just do sound effects and things like that for what they call the systems, which is everything that's tied to a character. So I was making footfalls, gun sounds, and stuff like that, which is where I met Alex Keller, because he came in as well to work on the game that killed Midway.
I am sorry. I'm really
Black
sorry.
Site Area 51.
What the game that will not be named?
I just said it.
Oh. Sorry.
No, I did come in after that.
Yeah.
I was on the game that really.
Oh, you were on Criminal.
I was on Criminal.
Yeah. NDAs are no longer applicable there.
Yeah, there's no company.
Not when there's no one on the other end to enforce them.
Yeah, no, we blew 22 million. Criminal blew 17 million and never actually made it. So anyway, I kind of got into games through that, met a bunch of audio people and a bunch of voice people working in that. So when Midway went and moved out of Austin, I went into business for myself, doing audio assets and voice casting, things like that for video games, and here I am.
And before I move on to the next question, let me say that Robert at Audio Art and Science was instrumental in helping cast DC Universe Online. That's something that, we couldn't have gotten this far without him. We had a very narrow window of time to get everything done, and he really brought it and got us
We did that in like 3 weeks.
It was something like that.
It was a flurry
It was
of activity.
150 characters in the comics, approved through licensing in 3 weeks. Yeah.
It helps that I was am a huge DC fanboy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was like a dream come true when I got that call from Alex, because I was just like, oh, what point? What are we jumping off? What are we jumping off? He's like, it's post 52. I'm like, as in like, you mean like the series 52? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm good with that. We can do that. Okay, that's cool. And now I get to write off all of my comics.
Yes.
Research.
Part of my interview for that job included action figure identification, and I think I got as far as Buona Beast. That stuck me. I lost on that one, but the rest of them I did okay on. I got one more question I want to run past these guys, then we'll turn it over to you guys for questions. Games are doing game voiceovers different than a lot of other media, primarily because it's non-linear. Mm-hmm. In my experience, that has a lot to do with it. It's difficult to sequence a script, to have it make sense. Mm-hmm. With that in mind, and any other things that are different, what makes doing voiceover for games different than than any other work that you do? Beth?
Go ahead, Adrian.
Shall I?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
A couple different things. I think that for me, the most poignant thing is kind of fun and gamey too, and kind of yoga-y. I didn't even think about that till now. Is that I'm constantly kind of having to balance opposing forces because I need as much energy, and sometimes I really truly need like physical energy from like the Mother Earth to get something out and to make it different and consistent. But it's not like in theater where you can say, okay, I'm gonna shoot it to the back of the room and it'll be easy and fun and it's gonna be a blast. It's like I have to muster that energy but still keep it contained and consider all of these other things, including just the technical aspect of working in a room with someone beyond the window and with the computer and using your time efficiently and taking care of your vocal cords. So for me, does that make sense? It's kind of different in that I have to work just as hard, but I also have to put these brakes on to adjust for the mic, behind the mic, 2014. I'm very physical. I mean, most of the time I take my boots off. Sometimes I'll wear sandals to record if I know I'm going to be there for a while just to take my feet off. Maybe I'm a total hippie, but I sweat, I bend my knees, I take up space, like no modesty, it's just out the door, whatever it takes to remember that. And then I think that also helps because maybe it's just that I'm more like physically intelligent than mentally intelligent or musically intelligent or whatever, but I can remember things that way. Like, so we'll do playback, but I can remember, Ursa's body or Cheetah's body or, Lois Lane's a little more upright, and it's easier. So that, I think, connected to the playback really helps me and is different than, doing commercial neck-up stuff where it's not very physical, or theater that is very physical, but you have the whole room and the audience energy to play and a linear story to kind of build up and, yeah.
I find for doing video games, like Alex was saying, there's less context, right? Because when we're doing Ruby or Red versus Blue or something, there's somebody in the other room. You have the whole script, and there's somebody prompting you with the lines that the other character is saying. So even though you don't know exactly what it's going to look like when it's fully animated or done, you're like, oh, I understand emotionally what's happening because this guy just said this to me, so now I'm going to respond in that way. So you can do that. With video games, it's like, what's happening here? And I find that what happens is I just ask the director a lot more. I'm way more willing to, or it's more necessary to talk to the director and just be like, what's happening? Am I mad? And Alex is really good. He's like, okay, now this is the part where you're wounded but you're not dead, and it makes you mad. Oh, okay, I can say the line that way. And usually our scripts are organized in that way. So it's like, okay, here's you're wounded and mad. Now you're really actually dying. So and you need to have those filters because out of context they're just like, hey, that's the line. It's like what kind of hey is that? What just happened to me? I don't know. So but just open communication, baby. That's what it's about.
Yeah, sometimes what we get is it's completely different. The scripts look different in a lot of the games that we do because they're in an Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes if you're doing a game that has cutscenes, you're going to have those listed like a movie script.
Right.
So you do have the back and forth, and you can see what's going on there and see what's happening in your scenes. But for most of the things that we're doing in games that require a lot of lines and exerts, it's a big, fat spreadsheet. And it's anything starting from, calls to other people on the battlefield like, get down! And looks like someone hit you in the face with a brick, or something like that, or you look at... after you shoot somebody and you want to taunt them, and you've got you look like you were ate by a coyote and crapped off a cliff. And so all of those things are together.
I'm stealing that.
Yeah, SJ, just go, man. Right. Yeah.
What we've got are
There's
these
the taunt
big,
list.
gigantic blocks of completely separate text for a lot of the games that we do. So you've got enemy at 12 o'clock! And then another one is, everyone be quiet, on my mark. Okay, so it's anything like that. So you've got all of these things that are all marked out, and then you've got screams of pain. So you've got being hit by bullet, not fatal. So you've got all of those things. I teach this stuff, by the way. I teach you how to take bullets, howl in agony, and die. That's one of the things I do.
You get those? You do this at
the,
GDC?
I have done it at the
GDC?
GDC.
What other conventions do you do?
You have an attacks, hits, and deaths class?
I do.
Yeah.
God
Yep.
damn.
Great.
Yep.
Take that class if you want
That's
to do
it.
video game
I call it
stuff.
Fight Club now.
So Alex and SJ are really good about doing the deaths, but like it's it's so funny. You'll do like 3 takes and you're just scrolling through, but they're written out phonetically.
Sometimes they are.
And it's just like scrolling pages of monosyllabic grunts with slightly different variations on the spelling. It's totally awesome.
But sometimes you don't even get that. Sometimes you get 20 exertions.
Yeah.
20 exertions.
And
Hit
we find that putting something in like that gives you some context, some way to make
Exactly.
each hurt different. It gives you a little bit of a seed to work with. It's a place to start from.
It is.
See, This is how this one's going to be different than the last one.
But it's going to sound different between getting punched in the belly, which is an sound, and then being hit by a bullet in the arm, which is an sound.
You're making me really uncomfortable.
And you're getting real physical.
But that's where some of the fun is. But that's what you were talking about. This is really very energetic. And the big difference between doing something that's nonlinear, that's in a booth by yourself, we almost never get to meet the other actors. I'm meeting these guys for the first time, okay? Because we're not on stage, because we don't have our fellow actors doing these roles with us, and you, the audience, with us in the same airspace, we don't have that kind of dynamic. But I'm a gamer. I play these games, and there are some games like Final Fantasy X, which I played for 200 hours. Okay, I know what it's like to become very intimate with characters that are speaking with you in the comfort of your own home, maybe through your headphones. We get really intimate with our video game characters. We become really very, very emotionally charged and emotionally entwined in the lives of the characters, whether they're the heroes or the villains. So when we're doing these roles for you, we're thinking about you. Mm-hmm. We are thinking about you. Really, truly. Because I know that you're going to be playing this game. And even if I'm not sure of what the context is necessarily in any given scene, I know that you're going to be hearing this. And if I also know you're going to be hearing a line 5,000 times, like, I'll be right there. Or, what is it that Toad always says? Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! 8 million times that it's like you want to strangle somebody. But I think that we play enough games that we know that if you're going to be hearing these things over and over, we want to make it comfortable for you to hear. But we also know how invested you are. And we want to make it awesome.
Yeah. I mean, in the theater, yeah.
What she said.
What she said. Well, yeah, like, to talk about it in terms of theater, the biggest difference between video games and other even digital media is in the terms of theater, you guys are the scene partner,
Yeah, it's
right?
you're
We're talking
that
to you.
other cast member.
Whereas, like when I'm doing Agent Washington, I'm not talking to you guys. You guys get to listen in, but I'm really having a conversation with Sarge and Caboose or whatever, and that's where the conversation is. But in the video games, we're talking to you guys, and I remember that a lot because I play villains a lot. So most villains are just complete assholes because you don't get to talk to me, but I get to talk to you. And you come into the room and I'm like, oh, nice shirt, buddy. You know, it's just like. Yeah, so there's that.
I don't know. I'm just an actor. It all just feels like acting to me.
Awesome.
It really just feels like, you know, he's like, this happened. I'm like, that happened? Oh my God! And then I'm there. I mean, I'm like, it really doesn't feel any different to me. So sorry. Maybe I'm just kooky enough that it just all seems real, whether I'm in a booth or not.
Awesome. Anyone else? Any thoughts? Okay, well, let's start taking questions from the audience then. There's a mic up there. If you guys want to jump up on it, that will. Yeah, let's not have any injuries here.
Do not run by the pool. Do not run by the pool.
And you can address them to somebody specific or the panel in general.
Good?
Yeah.
My question's not very specific, it's more general. So, yesterday's panel at RVB, we were able to hear Locus, which is great, your voice was like, it was deeper. It was like,
Yes, it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's why gray.
So the question isn't, the question's more like, although a lot of voice actors have they're very talented, they have a lot of strengths, they can do a lot of different voices. Are they edited or mixed to give more voices? And as well as if they are mixed, like is there a latency that you can hear the final mix of an edited character?
Oh, and you're not going to hear the mix while you're actually in the booth. That's just, you're going to hear you live in the moment, and that's it generally. So any additional sweetening or bass enhancing or anything they're going to do, that's in post. That can happen days, weeks, months later. In the case of RVB, oh, absolutely, they're playing with it because they have to put on the Spartan helmet filters and so forth. So as far as I know, Miles isn't throwing any extra bass on that, but I think the filter alone is enough to really give Locus some extra gravitas.
He's got that extra heft.
That's for most actors that I've worked with doing creature voices of one sort or another. Effects can help accentuate it, but if you don't have it, you don't have it. No effect is going to help.
Yeah.
I think it more comes from acting classes and learning how to control your voice.
Yeah.
Did you play Go Home Dinosaurs, anybody? Never mind then.
Is that a,
We did some. I did about half the voices in Go Home Dinosaurs. It's a game for kids. But we did instant mixing on that. That's all. That was one of the
I
games.
just I thought Go Home Dinosaurs was like a playground game that would teach you how to use your voice well.
Oh.
I was like, no, I want to learn how to play Go Home
it's an
Dinosaurs.
ice-
Go Home Dinosaurs!
Go home, dinosaur.
That would be great. No, it's a fun game for kids. It's on the iPad. But I got to be a T-Rex, and I got to hear, I made a sound like that was as deep as I could go, but I could actually hear the processing when we were doing it. So I was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Roar! And then it was as deep as though Gray had done by the time they finished with it. So that was fun to hear it. Can you do a T-Rex?
Could I do a T-Rex? I was about to go roar, but a little work to do.
It's like a cute baby.
It's that cute little velociraptor guy.
Hi. I'm really interested in acting and potentially voice acting, but as you can probably hear over the mic, I have a little bit of a lisp. Do any of you have advice for me as how to play characters without them coming across as caricatures?
Take voice classes with someone who can help you, either with a speech therapist or with someone who does teach this kind of stuff, because it depends on where that S is coming from. I can hear it in the back of your mouth.
Right here.
Yeah, and let me give you a quick something to work with. Take a pencil, stick it in your mouth like a horse's bit, and practice with it just behind your eye teeth, and read 2 paragraphs. And then take the bit out and read those 2 paragraphs again, and listen to yourself on tape and see how the difference is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good workout.
But it's also okay to be different.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
say,
I was
also,
I mean, it's
great
really
thing-
okay to be different.
It's
I mean,
okay.
there are plenty of ways and uses and roles that you could play exactly the way you are. So I think, one of the reasons I had a career in television was I was just so odd. I mean, my voice made me really odd. It didn't go with my face, and at first people were like, ah! But eventually they were going, get that weird girl with the voice. So,
That's awesome.
being different is okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My question is, as someone who's going to college and taking acting classes and done voiceover work, where is like a good place to get more experience? Like I've tried internships and jobs, but they've all just declined. It's like you don't have a college degree, we don't want you.
I think, I mean, it seems, if you kind of take the experience of a lot of the folks on this panel that I know, it's really getting out there in your community and meeting people. I mean, almost all of the work I have ever gotten has been through knowing people and meeting people and word of mouth, and hey, we worked really well together, you need this, you should talk to this guy, stuff like that, so that people get to know you and they get to know your skill set and what you do, and then from there it'll come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I have something for that, because I went to film school, and we were always looking for actors. So I don't know if you're from Austin, but whatever city you're from,
I'm from California.
reach out to the
There's no film schools in California.
No, I don't think so.
Never mind.
And there are no actors in California yet.
Yeah.
It's not a big thing there, but you might find somebody who's trying to do an independent film, or they're trying to do a project, or there's like Apple does like a 48-hour or 24-hour film festival, stuff like that. I did a ton of that stuff when I was in college, so they're looking for you.
I'm looking for people. It feels good to stand before such giants, but
Your silhouette is awesome.
Yeah, it's like,
Right now, I'm
Jesus
like,
Christ.
wow.
It is, yeah.
Hi, Plain Strip.
anyway, I'm actually in charge of a little section of a project that a friend of mine is doing, which will result in a couple of animated series. We're trying not to copyright Ruby, but hard to do that when we're using the software. I'm in charge of voice acting, storyboard, and oddly enough, recruitment. So I was wondering if you guys had any tips on what you're looking for when you're trying to find voice actors that you want for particular roles. Because as I've come across, I cannot find an animator for the life of me. And we have like 2 people for music, but everybody wants to be a voice actor. Everybody. So what is it like you guys try to, like, I know that you're like in charge of like a bunch of voice actors, right?
Yeah, a couple. So we're talking about casting. How do you manage a casting process?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I work with some agents. I work with actors that I know, and I'll write up some detailed character descriptions and send them out to the agents and send them out to actors that I know and bring them in for auditions. That's primarily it. And you just start hearing people, get a clearer idea of what you want, and get a clearer idea of who can do what. Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't spam anybody about it. Although, if you're offering work, it's not really spam.
Sure.
You can always get a little creative too in the audition process. I mean, it may not be inherently obvious what the person in front of you is capable of. It also kind of depends on the direction that you're giving them. So Alex has been pretty good, in reading, trying out for certain parts where you come in, the actor has a particular sound in mind that they've been practicing for the audition, and he's like, yeah, that's okay, but actually I had something else like this. Let's kind of nudge you that way. And it's kind of back on the director to see what else they can pull out of the actor, because there might be something there that you wouldn't have bumped into otherwise. So.
Well, that's a great point, because it's a very collaborative process. This is not me just coming into a session with all these ideas dumping out of my head and these guys just parroting what I want. They're actors, they're brilliant, they bring so much to it, they interpret the roles and the characters so much, and it's one of those things where you always leave with something greater than you could have imagined it being, if you've got good talent.
I think the best audition notice I ever got came from you guys when you called me in to read for Constantine, and the notice just said, there's some other things, but in all caps it said, "We are not looking for Keanu Reeves."
That was my note, baby.
Yeah, it was like, no Keanu impersonations.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I've been doing my own kind of voice acting, trying to find little independent stuff, like across the internet and everything. But every time I try to audition for stuff, I get the same feedback, like every time. When I get nervous or even just a general speed, I speak very fast, but it always sounds normal to me. How can I slow it down, still sound, I'm sorry, and still have it right to me, but still have it work for the people I'm auditioning for?
Record yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
But it's, like I said, it still sounds like a normal speed to me.
Do you take acting classes with a theater group?
No, my school doesn't offer that.
One thing that's very important, and actually this kind of goes for really any kind of acting style, is that you have to remember that when you're performing something that, like in theater, if you've been in the room, you've been performing something, you do it over and over and over again, or if you're in the booth, you're used to hearing your own voice kind of over and over and over again. And you have to kind of keep in mind that the people that you are going to be performing for, the people that are listening on the video game or in the audience, they haven't heard the words that you're saying before. And so whatever you think your normal speed is that you can hear, you have to find a way to kind of slow it down, because we train ourselves to hear our own voice. We train ourselves to hear, if Gray and I are doing a scene, we might, if we do it over and over again, it's going to get faster and faster and faster, and it might get to a point where we could be talking and know exactly everything that we're saying, but you guys out there would be like, what did he just say? I don't know. Because you haven't heard it before, and it takes a little while to kind of catch up on that. So, really, I know you've been recording and listening to yourself, but try to consciously work on slowing that down and just taking a little bit more time with it.
Okay.
Also, this might sound kind of cheesy, and I'm well aware of that, guys, so I'm going to say it anyway, but it's also just energy in the room, So with practice, you will become, I don't want to say relaxed, because I just got done saying this big thing about being physical, but I think with practice you become more empowered in the room, and you kind of have to be empowered in the room or in the closet or studio. What else do we call it?
Booth.
Thank you.
The hot,
feel like
lightless box that Alex puts me in. What do you call that? The coffin? What is
There's
it?
juicy fruit gum there and water. Anyway, but I know this sounds cheesy, but I totally get behind this. You have to do whatever it takes, practice, yoga, whatever, to become empowered in the room, because when we're in the booth, it's kind of weird. You are a puppet, because we're like, okay, this way. Sometimes we don't know. We don't get to have, the writer there to explain things, so we have to go on a, detective journey and try all these different things that you're maybe not so good at, and then things that you're like, that's the one, and you're like, oh, thank you, God. So I really feel like, becoming an empowered puppet, or just becoming empowered in the room, and this goes for any audition process or any job or any relationship, really, is with practice and with an awareness, which, boom, you already have, it will get better, but you just got to stick with it and get empowered.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm short, sorry. My thing is, I'm a filmmaker, and I've been doing live action, but I've always been told I have a face for radio. So, I used to do acting, and then I was like, oh, I'm not in front of the camera. But now voice acting has come onto me, but I hate the sound of my voice. Do you guys have a problem with that? And if so, how have you gotten over listening to your voice?
You hate the sound of your voice when you're listening to yourself talk right now, or you hate it when it's being replayed? Because there's a difference.
Definitely more when it's replayed, but it's kind of weird hearing it out of the
Do you know why?
speakers.
Do you know why you hate the sound of your voice? I can tell you why. One of the things that happens when you're speaking, your entire head is resonating with the sound of your voice. It's being created here, but it's resonating through all of the soft tissue, through your jaw, through the hard tissue here, and straight into your ear. So what you're hearing when you speak, the voice that you hear right here, that's the voice that you're hearing. But the voice that you actually hear replayed back, that's what everybody else is hearing, because you're not only hearing the sound in your head when you're speaking, you're also hearing what's being reflected in the room.
And that's not just you, it happens to everybody.
That's everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
But
That's the biomechanics of voice.
But
Did you learn that from a college textbook?
No.
So I think one of the things is,
when I hear my voice, I hear Gray's voice inside my head, but when it comes out, it's not that low. I don't understand.
yeah,
I think I'm like
have that
Solid
problem.
Snake or,
I have that problem too. I was like, oh, this sounds so badass, and I hear it replay. I was like, that's kind of wimpy.
It's super wimpy. What's wrong with me?
Jesus Christ! I wish I was Gray.
Can we do that again? That needed...
The other thing, I think just listen to your voice a lot, and maybe do, maybe also do characters. And when you do characters, you're sort of putting a mask on yourself, and you have permission to take a step back, and you're just like, oh, that's not really me. That's the character. So I think I think we've all probably been there where it's like, I don't like the way that sounds, but I think the more you just hear yourself in that recorded medium, the more comfortable you get with it, and just learn to accept, hey, that's what I sound like, that's my vocal range, these are the quirks that come across in my voice no matter what role I'm doing, and that's just the way it is. And if other people like it, take the money and go.
There's no such thing as a bad voice. There just isn't. You know, it sounds like you're internalizing a lot of negative feedback that you probably shouldn't be listening to. I mean, my mother, when I was a kid, was like, you have the most horrible voice. You can never be an actress with that voice, you know? And she was wrong. She was...
Yes, that's awesome.
She was incorrect.
Yeah.
So don't internalize negative feedback. It's none of your business what other people think about your face for radio or any of that. Fuck all that. You know?
Yeah. I like you.
You just worry about being who you are and being authentic and care about the things you care about as an artist, and it'll all work out.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, I've always loved acting, loved the theater, I've done stuff like that, but I'm just finding it hard to just take that leap to actually make it into a profession. I just love being on the stage, in the booth, you know, being a different person than you normally are, or maybe the exact person you are. I'm just wondering if there's like any tips to, you know, just pump yourself up to actually put yourself out there.
Marry a rich woman.
I think Robert said it earlier. It's just about meeting people that inspire you. A lot of people are in this business and do all those things, and they have no joy. And it's already very obvious that that you want to be there because you experience this feeling of joy. It sounds like. So, this is, I don't know where you're from, but
I'm from Oklahoma.
Okay. Well, you just get involved in the community and.
Or move to Austin.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Or
move to
wouldn't be
Austin
alone.
and come hang out with us.
But you do have to realize that this is not an easy business. And you really have to want it more than anything in order to survive it. You know, 1% of the members of the Screen Actors Guild make over $20,000 a year. That's maybe a tiny percentage of the people that want to be actors and that want to have a professional life as actors. So it's not easy. The odds are against you. So you have to dig down deep inside yourself and say, is this what I really want? And if it is what you really want, then you have to do everything possible to get it. And that means working wherever you can, however you can, with whatever group of people that's making theater, that's making games in your immediate area, and taking it from there. But it really is a very, very difficult profession. Most people do not make a living at it. So knowing that, if you still love it, go for it.
Yeah. I would like to add, too, like acting is a weird thing where a lot of professional gigs, what you're waiting on is somebody else's permission to do the art that you do, right? You have to go to an audition, you get cast, you're waiting on permission. But the exciting thing about 2014 is the barriers of permission get smaller and smaller, right? You can make a YouTube channel, you can find friends, you can make video sketches, you can do comedy sketches, you can join an improv troupe, you could start an improv troupe, you can do all of these things that sort of sidestep the whole, permission model of doing acting and create your own work and get your own work out there. It may not pay, but you're working, you're doing stuff, you build a reputation, you can build a body of work, and that's really helpful. So I think that, in 2014, and it's not to say, if you're not making it, you're not trying hard enough. It's not that, but there are lots of things that you can do that you're not waiting on somebody else to tap you on the shoulder and say, yeah, you can do this now. So I think go for it.
I quit my job. I've never had to waitress as an actress. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's not at all. But I have a YouTube channel now. It has almost 150,000 subscribers, and I quit my job, and it helps me pay everything so that I can be an actor. And that's 2014, baby.
Yeah.
That's
But
crazy.
you have to stop thinking and get started. That's my thing. I think too much. So I've got a little personal rule where if I know for sure I want to go do this thing, and there's no other barriers that they're talking about, and I catch myself that I'm spending more time thinking about it than doing it, then I got to come up for air and realize that's the state that I'm in, and just take the next step. Just go.
Yeah. Get out and do it because it's fun. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
All right, hey guys. I've heard a lot of voice actors say in interviews that voice acting isn't just doing a funny voice. So my question is, when you get a part to play, what sort of methods or ways or advice do you have for when you get a character to figure out how they sound, why they sound this way, and make it sound genuine and real as opposed to just doing a funny voice.
Okay, I want to say something. I want to say something about me, but I also want to say something about the lovely. Oh no, Sam's in here. Oh, Jen's already left. Hey, Sam, Jen's already left. Okay, I have to tell this
So we
story.
have the voice of Nora in the house, by the way.
Yes, Nora. Also, Agent Connecticut, CT over there. So Jen Brown, the voice of Pura from Ruby, was sitting here earlier today. She had to go. But she was telling me a story at lunch about how when she got the role of Pura, she was kind of trying to figure out how to approach this voice. And eventually what she settled on is she's kind of imitating Adrian. Just Adrian, as Adrian Mishler we know around town as our friend in the theater community, she's kind of doing Adrian as Pura. And in fact, apparently every time she goes to record, before it's really rolling, she starts going, Adrian Mishler, Adrian Mishler, to sort of summon the character up. I think. I am a god. Oh my God! Isn't that? She told me that story, and I was like, I am going to tell that story. I have to find a place to tell that story. So thank you for that question. You knew some of that, right?
Actually, she just told me this today, right here. And I was like, I don't know what to say to that.
It's so weird. I'm a character. I think everybody works different. I work very referentially, so I'll kind of go, well, this character reminds me of these characters from other media that I know, and if I sort of swirl them around together, this is the result. Oh, hey, I like this voice, and you kind of play around with that until that happens. That's how I work. Other people do other things, but I'm like, any character that I'm doing is usually, it's like these three characters, maybe completely different media, maybe a musician or a painting or something. It's like, that's what that painting would sound like, and then you combine it with this, and now you got this character like this right now, and so whatever the case might be. So you just kind of swirl them around. Other people
Never heard your Jimmy Stewart. Huh?
Yeah. Well, you should. We'll talk later after the show. We're going to Bedford Falls.
Yeah, but it changes, per actor, per situation. Even there's you don't have to stick to one particular technique. There's going to be times where the particular quality, the performance that they want is an emotional state where they want this character to kind of always have this particular feeling or flavor, this thing that they're putting out. And then other times, maybe it's more referential where, there's other characters or performers out there that already exist, and you just kind of mix and match.
Yeah, and it also, I think, another thing is that it also depends on the director too, because oftentimes, and I think it was kind of said a little bit before, you come in with something. I mean, I'm kind of, my acting style, if I had one, I'm kind of a mimic, in certain ways. So when I get something, I find a voice that works in me. If it's like, oh, he's from the Northeast, so all of a sudden Quint, 300 men went into water, just let it come out. And I start doing that over and over and over again. But, you go in the booth and you do that, and then the director's like, So from there, you just kind of work it out. The characters, a lot of times, very rarely do you ever go in the booth and like throw something down and they're like, that's absolutely perfect. And it's like, oh, well, great, okay, I still get paid the same, right? So it's a little bit of a give and take.
You do have to know your palette. There are many different things that you use to paint a character. It has to do with placement and accent and where the tone is being made in your throat, whether it's
I shouldn't have done a nor'easter with her up here. That's
terrible. Yeah, that's right, Sonny.
She's going to throw a pot of beans at you.
But there are lots of different things that you can do if you want it to sound kind of like this. That's the same tone I'm just talking. All I'm doing is I'm adding a little grit in it. Okay, so it's just kind of knowing what you want the character to sound like, okay? And you can either add an accent or not. It just kind of depends on what you're trying to do, okay? So it depends on the character's frame of reference. If you get a script in advance, because you're so lucky.
What? Dream on. That can happen?
Which is really lucky. You can actually create a backstory for the character and figure out why they stutter sometimes. That kind of thing. So
or why they go, oh, when they're hitting the stomach.
It's good to know.
Cool, thanks.
Hello.
Hello.
I've been doing some voiceover work for production on Radio Disney for a fairly good amount of time now. And I love doing it, but one thing about it is it's very, very stylized in what it is. So I guess my kind of big question for the group of you is, what are you guys doing to hone your skills and practice when you're not on a job?
I drive around in my car and make funny voices.
Hang out with my friends and make funny voices.
The shower is a very handy place for all sorts of things.
Talk to myself a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes when, have you spoken, when you've done a role on stage, have you actually done that accent like throughout your entire life while you're doing that role? Driving your family crazy?
Yes.
That's what we do. It's like talking all day long, like, because I want to make sure I know how to do this.
The one that I didn't ever have this role, but I've definitely driven my family crazy with doing Bill Cosby voices. But,
but that's what you do.
See, well, to tell you, it's the time to go to bed now it's about 10 o'clock, and with Theo, my son's not named Theo.
That's what, yeah, just play with it all day long.
If you're around kids, I used to teach and work with a lot of kids. It's always fun. I mean, they're not going to judge you. You're just like, you know, I talk to my dog died, but I used to talk to my dog in accents all the time, and I have this yoga web channel. All the time people write in like, "You're so silly, Adrian," because I'm just always talking in accents and having fun. And again, I know it sounds cheesy, but that goes back to like just being confident and willing to play, and so that when you do get in a scenario or get into a job, you can just commit to the bit with confidence.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
We're close to being out of time. This should probably be the last one.
Hi.
Is that a Captain America cosplay?
It's the Captain America hoodie, actually.
Oh, nice. Okay. So it's like half a cosplay.
Well, sort of. It also has a hood.
Now it's a full costume.
Ooh, it's got like a mask. Okay. All right.
Great,
so-
now we don't have time.
I was just running out the clock, baby. Just running out the clock.
So you're going to kill me because it's kind of a two-parter. But first, do you recommend going to a place to get a professional recording of your demo done? Or would you recommend just doing it yourself and then sending it out, like editing it yourself and whatnot?
How awesome of an editor are you?
I had an audio engineering class.
Awesomer than me.
You could give it a spin. I don't spend a lot of time listening to demos for sound quality.
Yeah.
But that said, the slicker it is, the better off you're going to be.
And then I'm about to be a college freshman. I just graduated high school, and I've been trying to figure out where I would go to college for voice acting, because I went to an arts high school, and it was really catty, and it kind of turned me off theater for a really, really, really long time. And I was wondering, like, where do I go to specifically work on my voice versus, like, just going for theater and having a really good time and that type of stuff?
I would say, well, I don't know where you applied to college. I mean, the first thing is go where you get in and don't come out with too much debt. You know, no, seriously. I mean, don't spend $200,000 going to a school that you think is going to help you with your voice acting when maybe there's another place that would be a quarter of the price and it would be just as good. Because I think the biggest thing, you're young, is just say yes to as many projects as you can, and it's good to be single-minded about that you want to pursue a voice acting career, but just see where the art takes you as well, and just get involved in projects and say yes to projects and learn what you can learn, and you can do that in a lot of places. So I would say find a like-minded community around you and make it happen for yourself that way, and don't think that there's like a silver bullet location that's going to teach you the mysteries of voice acting that will put you ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, more to the point, I'm not sure. I mean, you can go to universities for general vocal training, and you might find a class or two in the RTF department or maybe the acting department where they will cover this for a semester or so. But I mean, in terms of voice acting training, I see a much better variety just out there in the city. being provided privately, not necessarily through
Yeah.
school.
Well, also, high school sucks. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I wouldn't judge what the future is going to be in terms of how you feel about the arts, theater, and everything else based on the experiences you had in high school. Most artists had a terrible experience in high school.
Is there anyone here that didn't?
Gosh, I had a blast in high school.
Shut up,
Okay. I mean, so I think, you know, I don't think you should judge the future based on the past. The future is still yours to create, and you might find a place that you land that makes you love theater all over again.
Yeah. The day after I graduated high school, I went to high school in north of Houston, Texas. And the day after I graduated high school, I left. I went 3 states over to a tiny little school in southern Mississippi, of all places, to be an English major. And then wound up in the theater department, where I had a department chair who was like, hey, you like performance? Do performance. You should also have a tech skill because you might not make any money doing performance stuff. And so I started doing sound things, and then, you know, that ball just rolls, you know. So again, it kind of comes back to, you know, finding like-minded people and community in a lot of ways, whether that's a university or not, you know. It's
learn by doing.
Learn by doing.
And
Absolutely.
then hit the reset button from time to time, and remember that no matter how long you've been doing it, technically you're always going to be learning, and you're still a student. So go take another class or go put yourself into a new situation with some new people, because you're going to learn some new stuff from them all the time. But it doesn't have to be a structured classroom environment necessarily. Just get out there, get started.
You guys, we're out of time. Thanks so much to you guys for being on the panel. Thanks to everybody for coming.
Thanks for coming
It's been
out.
Thank you
amazing.
guys. Thank you so much.
And thanks
Thank
to
you,
Alex
Alex.
Keller for making
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Alex and
Keller.
SJ.
Thank you, Alex.
An awesome audio director.